Welcome to the IS update for May. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have a very packed agenda today, so look forward to sharing with you. And please feel free to use the chat function if you have questions to ask, but also we will have time for Q&A at the end. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Hastings. I'm the Chief Delivery Officer for the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. And let's get into today. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today. For me, that's the Turrbal and Yagara people of Brisbane. I acknowledge their deep connection to land, water and culture, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. In terms of the agenda today, we've got, as I said, quite a packed agenda. We'll be starting with a rating update and then a technical update. We'll then look at IS Essentials, an update on membership and events, our learning and development business, and then finally an update on New Zealand before opening up to questions. As I said, though, feel free to put them in the chat as we go as well, and we'll try to respond to them on the fly, or if not, hold them over till the end. So in terms of the rating update, I'd like to start with, before I get into the facts and figures, with a little bit of an update around some changes in the ratings team. So recently, a couple of weeks ago, our General Manager of Ratings, Toby Gray, finished with the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. He had a side project that has taken off and has needed to spend more time on that project moving forward. Some of you may have seen on LinkedIn, we are currently recruiting for a new General Manager and obviously would welcome any applicants you might be aware of. As we move into the ratings update more broadly, currently we have 334 ratings underway with a total capex of 217 billion. Breaking that down, 7 billion of that and 21 ratings are currently sitting in the New Zealand side of the ditch. In terms of the overall breakdown of ratings, it won't surprise anybody on the call to see that the vast majority of our ratings are currently in the road and rail section. But what's really exciting and what is a big focus for the ISC is starting to expand the uptake of our rating scheme in the other infrastructure assets. I will also point out that as we look down the central column, our planning and our operations ratings are growing quite rapidly, which is also very exciting to see. The other piece, which unfortunately didn't make this slide because we're still working on it, but we've also welcomed the Northern Territory's first rating to the fold as well, which means all jurisdictions of Australia now have at least one rating being undertaken, which is a huge milestone for the ISC. If we move, so in terms of registration since we last met, there's been 14 new registrations since we last met, and 4 new IS Essentials pilots. If we work our way down, you'll see that, pardon me, again across nearly all the jurisdictions, very exciting to see some slightly different projects signing on. So seeing the ferry precinct redevelopment in New Zealand, as well as the Green Bridge here in Queensland. Next slide, please. In terms of certifications, just a massive shout out first to ReConnect Stage 3B for its version 1.2 design rating and achieved a level of leading. MRPV Western Roads upgrade, also 1.2, but an as-built, achieving commended. ACT Healthy Waterways, 1.2 as-built, excellent. The North-South Corridor Regency to Pym Street, version 2, as-built, excellent, which is our first as-built version 2 achievement, and that should actually read gold. Well done to Regency Road to Pym Street as well, down in South Australia, and more to come on that achievement. The LXRP SPA initial works package, version 1.2 as built leading, and then the M1 North Sports Drive to Gateway Motorway, version 1.2 as built leading as well. Some really extraordinary achievements by projects. I think we might actually have another Another slide on certificate? No. A really impressive achievements by projects, and a massive shout out to all of the project teams for their achievements, both from an outcomes perspective, but also from an effort perspective. It's always great to see everyone striving for more. In terms of new team members, I'd like to welcome Adam Dallas as an infrastructure sustainability coordinator to the team. Adam joined us just over 6 weeks ago. Has been an extraordinary addition. So if you do come across him, please make him feel welcome and say hello. Next week, we'll be welcoming Diego Unzum. Diego will be joining us as an infrastructure sustainability project manager. He's joining us from the sustainability team in Ryde Regional Council and is a wonderful addition to the ISC. More to come on Diego once he gets into the seat next week. But again, please feel free to, and please reach out and make him feel welcome. With that in mind, I might pass over to Kerry Griffiths and to Ty Momberg to provide an update on the technical side of the business.
Cheers, thanks, Pat. Welcome, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Ty Momberg, and I'm the Principal Technical Advisor with the Technical Team. Our team has been growing. I'm sure all of you know Dr. Kerry Griffiths, who's a Technical Director, and many of you have likely had some interactions with Gabriella, who spends half her time as a technical officer and half her time as an IS coordinator. We have been recently joined by Andrea Sen as a technical officer, and she's already doing a fantastic job. Also, we are on the lookout for a data analyst at the moment. So if you know anyone, please point them in our direction. Last, but definitely not least, in terms of team members, the IS project managers and ratings team play a very important part in technical development projects, as they spend a percentage of their time on technical work. Now that I've introduced the team, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the projects that we're working on. The first one is technical working groups. So we're progressing well with these TWGs. They were formed to support the development of rating tools, templates, training, etc., and also to provide guidance and recommendations on benchmarks and technical developments. There are 6 TWGs as detailed in the slide. We recently had our second meeting of the year, and we're starting to progress many of the ISC approved work plan items. The meetings themselves, they're divided into knowledge sharing time, where we're able to learn from one another as well as from guest speakers, and also into working time, where we actively work on specific work plan items. Another big technical update is the digitalization of the materials calculator. So the developer, BuildApps, has done a lot of really good work, and we have recently gone out to a number of friendlies to undertake beta testing. We got really good feedback from the group, which was a combination of identification of bugs and also suggestions offered by these testers. Obviously, all the bugs are in progress, are being fixed, and we're also busy working with BuildApps to determine which of the suggestions are to be incorporated into MVP1, which is due for release in the near-ish future. There's a lot to do, obviously, and which items are for further down the track. I'm now going to hand over to Kerry to talk through some of the other technical developments. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Ty, and great to be here joining you all today. I just wanted to cover a couple of additional projects and also talk about the rulings. So the IS planning rating, which was released in 2018 and has currently been in a beta phase kind of over the last couple of years. We've had around 14 projects that have been using the tool, and we're now undertaking, as part of our continuous improvement process, a review to look at some particular aspects that have been highlighted during that beta phase. So particularly around the distinction between strategic planning and detailed planning. And then we also want to bring on board a number of the improvements and decisions that were made during the update of the design and as-built rating. We completed some consultation on this project last year, or the end of the year before, actually, but now we're really kind of going to start in earnest with being very clear about defining the option we're going to take for next steps, and then updating the technical manual, kicking off this month and working through to June 2023. Myself and Declan Collins will be leading the project from an ISC point of view, and some of our colleagues from the member GHD will be supporting this review. So we're excited about that and keen to get going. We will have some very clearly defined stakeholder engagement as part of that. A key part of the stakeholder engagement will be with the Planning Technical Working Group, but there will be others amongst our members and partners that we will be involving in that process. Technical governance review, this is really more an internal review, but it does have an impact in terms of the decisions that we make from a technical perspective and how we involve stakeholders. This involves the sorts of things that you'll be familiar with, like the review of technical clarifications and credit interpretation requests, as well as those bigger product development items that need to be confirmed or reviewed and signed off within the ISC. So we've updated that process. We're just finalising that currently with our board, and we'll be publishing that online shortly. Just in terms of the governance review, these are the sort of driving forces, I guess, or driving principles behind the review that we've undertaken. So just making sure that we are meeting the rating project needs, our technical project needs, and also supporting continuous improvement. So that's a big part of our technical governance process. That our turnaround times and resolution times are improving, and we've been doing some tracking of those, and we're pleased to say that we're heading in the right direction. Also making sure that we're managing risk in terms of the technical decisions that we make, that we're transparent, and also that we have our decisions are well aligned to our technical manuals, our guidelines and rulings, informed by best practice and considerate of affected stakeholders. And just to close from me, just to highlight for the ISAPs and assessors out there, we released a new version of the rulings in the last quarter, Rev 40, and there are a few minor changes, but the key ones relate to the urban design credit, the innovation credit in terms of innovation challenge, which I'm sure a number of you know about and are involved in, and also within our energy credit, the consideration of decarbonisation of the grid, that should be rather than the GERD and not like the grid, and also emission factors selection. So just a reminder, we update our rulings on a regular basis every 1 to 2 months. We are just about to review revision 41, so that will be coming out in the next few weeks. And I'm handing over now to Tom and Ty, who are going to be providing an update on IS Essentials.
Thanks, Gary. Hi again, everyone. I'll be now giving a brief overview of the new Essentials rating tool that we are in the process of developing. So IS Essentials is a sustainability rating tool that is specifically being developed for projects under $100 million. It's being built from the ISV 2.1 Design and As-Built Technical Manual, but with reduced complexity and scale. The idea is to make it a nimbler tool that is more proportional and suitable for smaller projects. As I said earlier, the ISC is currently in the process of digitalizing the materials calculator, and moving on from that, then the idea is that the Essentials tool will be ISC's first full digital rating. This tool is very much still in development, and we are working with pilot projects as we go. This involves a flexible, iterative process of testing as we develop. This is to enable us to bring an appropriate and tested tool to the market at the end of the process. As you can see from the slide, there are about 10 developments / approaches, kind of initiatives that we are actively working on to reduce the scale and complexity of the Essentials rating tool. I won't go through each of these at this point, but it's just to give you an idea. There have been physical actual reductions in the number of credits available. So credits have been deleted from the version 2.1 technical manual, and therefore there's physically less work for projects to do. Also, continuing the theme of reducing the burden for projects, we have then gone into the remaining credits and stripped out and deleted credit criteria and credit requirements to make these remaining credits more appropriate for smaller projects. Work on the Essentials tool is still very much underway, and we are still working on a number of these developments / approaches, including things like templates, new verification module, digitalization. So kind of watch this space as we develop. One of the major developments approaches that we are working on is the updated materiality assessment process. This is one of the bigger, meatier developments to help reduce the scale and complexity of the rating tool for smaller projects. So as you can see on the slide, the materiality assessment is very much linked to the project's capex. Projects under 20 million will only have 20 credits scoped in or available to them. So similarly, for projects from 20 to 50 million, will only have 25 credits scoped in, and projects between 50 and 100 will have 30 credits scoped in. Once the scoping process has been undertaken, the points are then kind of redistributed amongst the remaining the remaining credits. And as you can see, the intent is very obviously that smaller projects do less. It is important to note that there are no compulsory or mandatory credits in the Essentials tool. So this particular development, or the other ones that were listed, those other 10 developments, are all being tested by pilot projects to see if they work in the real world. And I'm going to be handing over to Tom Young next, who's going to be telling you more about the pilot project process. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ty. Kia ora, everyone. Yeah, so the pilot process, like Ty mentioned, it kicked off last year. And so far we have 16 projects confirmed. 11 of those have already started, and another 5 will be kicking off within the next few months. And then we have a number of other projects through various proponents that we're looking at. But I'll probably repeat a couple of times. If anyone's got any projects that they think would be suitable or are interested in pursuing Essentials, please do put them in touch with us. Now, the interesting thing, I suppose, about the variety of projects we've got at the moment is they're spread across New Zealand and Australia. They're also spread across those CapEx brackets that Ty spoke about in the last slide. That, alongside the fact that we've got a real variety of asset types, is providing us really useful feedback. So the asset types are from marine beacons to some road project, to a boardwalk, to quite a few water infrastructure projects. And the different feedback we're getting from those, the different asset types, the different capital lands, are proving really valuable, and we'll use that feedback to try and mold the tool down the line. So we'll continue to run through that feedback, and I think what's been really useful about this is the different kinds of asset types that we've got compared to potentially a full rating. So possibly under a full rating, there'd be assets there which maybe wouldn't have fit perfectly in Essentials. These different asset types are being able to access Essentials through the pilot, which is great. And then the pilot process. So yeah, the projects that are going through this process at the moment, the pilot process is very similar to a full rating with a couple of adaptations, and I'll just speak to those adaptations briefly. So the initial project assessment is probably pretty critical, playing to the fact that, like I just spoke about, different asset types and different proponents are looking to access this Essentials pilot. And as a result, they maybe haven't had a lot of exposure to IS ratings in the past. So what we've been doing is meeting up with projects at the very initial phase, to talk about their projects, to explain the process a wee bit, to see if they're suitable for an Essentials pilot. So once again, anyone got any projects with a glimmer of interest in essentials, please do put them in touch. We then obviously run through a rating agreement as you would with a full rating, and then step onto the materiality assessment. As Ty touched on before, this is really critical in any rating, but almost more so within the pilot for essentials, because it drives a number of credits which are screened in for your particular project. The assessment carried out by an ISAP is very similar. You obviously need to work against the Essentials Pilot Technical Manual, then pull the submission together and submit for verification. And then, as with all of our IS rating projects, we want to be celebrating and we want to provide certification for projects and promote those projects' achievements and sustainability outcomes. So we're once again looking for projects. We're also considering the program approach within pilots. At the moment, we're looking around to see if there's a potential for us to run a program approach with IS Essentials. So if anyone has any interest in that, please do get in touch. And finally, the key focus of this is about feedback. So the pilot projects are providing really valuable feedback and will continue to do so. We'll use that to hopefully iterate the manual to make it and mold it to be responsive to what industry is looking for. So now I think I'm going to pass on to Jane to talk about memberships and events.
Thank you, Tom. I just would like to say I'm delighted to be talking to you today from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I've flown in from Australia to talk about our imminent conference coming up in Auckland. So a big thank you to the welcome that I've received in this market. Okay, next slide, please. First of all, I would very much like to welcome our new members. From a proponent point of view, a very warm welcome to the Northern Territory Government. Great to have you on board. And the Australian Government have committed membership for the Department of Defence, which is an exceptional outcome and one we're very proud to be working on around the country. In respect to designers, KBR, contractors, Enviro Pacific and Geller, and with suppliers and partners, quite a number. A very warm welcome to OzStab, KPMG, Urbis, Bentley, the Envenge Group, Digital Twinning Australia, Environmental Management Innovations, Rare Environmental, Synchrony, FSC Group, and Red Sand. So the growth is quite spectacular and lovely to see a significant range of new members from across the value chain. So picking up on my previous comment, I have the pleasure of being in Auckland to actively talk about the ReConnect conference, which we're scheduled for the 28th of June. This feels like it's been a long time in coming, and as you all know, our dates have been shifting around in response to the COVID situation that we've needed to respect and deal with. But the 28th of June is a firm date. I will say that initially we thought about doing a 2-day conference, but in fact, because we haven't been or had the opportunity to connect for some time, what we've decided to do is to have our single day or have a single day conference on the 28th, but we will be scheduling over the course of that week, which commences on Monday the 27th of June, a number of other events as well. So we will have a half-day Sustainability Professionals Day. We're delighted to tell you that one of our shoulder events will be a Mana Whenua workshop with CRL supporting us, amongst other things. So we look forward to communicating more on those shoulder events. But for those that I've met already in the market over the past 3 days and more to come over the next 2, we've got a fabulous program lined up, and I look forward to talking to many more of you. We hope that Australia will join in and attend, whether that's virtually or face-to-face, now that the opportunity is there. But the lineup is exceptional, and we know that the experience of actually being face-to-face again is really quite phenomenal. You've probably picked up by all of that, it's a hybrid event. Our full program and ticket registrations will be in fact launched next week. And there are a number of very significant high-profile sponsorship opportunities available, and it really is an invaluable opportunity for leaders in the sector to position and profile your sustainability credentials. I have mentioned, Tara, I might just get you to pop back for one moment. I'm also really pleased to just confirm that we will be running our Connect conference on the Sunshine Coast. I had hoped to give you the specific dates in October, but that should be advised over the coming days, and we're proudly being sponsored as our platinum partner with Queensland Government. We've also got a number or two, in fact, knowledge sharing and new member events, I beg your pardon, knowledge sharing and certification events coming up. In Victoria, really delighted to have John Holland as our partner with the Victorian event, which will be held in June. We've just got a couple of presenters who are working through their times and dates that they're available, but it will be in June, and we look forward to being able to acknowledge some fantastic achievements, and also to use that occasion to really share some of the learnings and challenges that have been experienced. On the 31st of May, we will be running a knowledge sharing and certification event with Main Roads Western Australia, our sponsor. And on Thursday, the 9th of June, we have our second new member induction event. And that event is very much about not only welcoming our new members, but it's a really important opportunity to learn about how you can access the maximum benefit from having joined with us in this manner. So for those of you who may not be a new member, but would like to know more about how to do that, we'll be delighted to have you, and the website bookings will open shortly. We have, as another development in the engagement space, we've developed a number of new content opportunities for projects, for members, for leaders and our suppliers. From a project's point of view, we really are interested in hearing about your learnings, your challenges, the challenges that you've overcome most particularly, and the innovation work that you've been doing. So please don't hesitate to make contact with us. We want to share this with the market, and it's a way of showing your leadership credential in the space that you're working against those projects that are coming through. From our members' point of view, we have got a new portal now, which is based on a quarterly theming that we're going to be announcing, where we would actively invite, in fact, our members to make a contribution to those themes. The first period, April to June, the theme is low carbon materials. In July through to September, circular economy, and October to December, net zero. So if you've got a story to share, some innovation to communicate in that context, we'd love to hear more about it. From an iSupplier point of view, we'll be running a monthly content feature looking for product solutions, all about those solutions that are really advancing sustainability outcomes for our projects. And through the lens of leaders, and what I'd say to this, it's not only executives, it's very much about a leadership position where you've had someone in your organisation who has performed, contributed to something quite outstanding in the context of infrastructure sustainability. Our portal is open and ready to receive that content and make sure that that is recognised across the value chain as part of seeing people grow and learn, and to share that with others. iSupply, a really important area of development for us. I think probably we all say at one point in time or another that there's things we could do to improve our website. We're pleased to tell you that we've done this with iSupply. It was sitting as a separate website. I'm going to be honest and say it was pretty clunky. It has now been completely reconfigured and is embedded now in our main website with very, very straightforward navigation and assistance to help you access the opportunity that this provides if you're a supplier of products or services to the sector. We are in fact producing a short video at the moment which will help you to know how to write a professional entry for the online directory. And as I have mentioned to you previously, we're in development on a training program specifically designed for suppliers and how they engage with the sector and how we can help you learn some tricks and tips on how to be even more successful in communicating with your marketplace. It's that time of year where we are fast approaching June 30. So next week, we will be going out with our invoicing, never necessarily an exciting time, but from a point of view of making sure that you're well established into the membership, remain there in the form that you'd like to, either as a premium or value package member or a standard member. Those invoices will go out from next week. Thank you to those members who have updated their annual turnover. That is the basis of the tiering of the membership system. It's an honour system, so if you have had changes, I would ask you to communicate that with us, but thank you to those that already have. The terms that we have on our invoicing is a 14-day payment, and I would ask that for all of you, if you could please adhere to that time frame. It's a really critical aspect of making sure that we can do all that we do and service the sector in the way that we'd like to. So thank you in anticipation of that. Okay, and I'd like to now hand over to Hayley Greaves, our Learning and Development Manager, to provide us with a training update. Thank you, Hayley.
Thanks, Jane. I'm just going to go through what's new in training, the ISAP renewal process, ISO Professionals Pathway mentoring program, and what's on in relation to upcoming courses. So starting with what's new, we've got ISAP renewal, which is no longer only available in the renewal period, which was historically July to September. It's now available all year round, and it's up to individuals to maintain their accreditation on an anniversary date. And I'll talk to that a little bit more on the next slide. And then I'll also talk about ISO Professionals, which you may recognise as a course title, but it's now a pathway that's made up of multiple courses. So in relation to ISAP renewal, as I mentioned, it's no longer only available between July and September. It's available all year round. This will not be a huge change for any already established ISAPs on the call. The biggest change is that if your ISAP was previously maintained by or managed by your organisation, it is now the responsibility of you as the individual. We will communicate this further in our ISAP newsletter, which you can subscribe to via the website and through individual emails coming from our training inbox. You also see there that there are 3 ISAP renewal options. So you can renew in version 1.2 only, or version 2.1 only, or you can combine both versions and renew using one exam, but in both versions. The email that will come out has a fact sheet attached to it, which helps you decide which version, which option is best for you. In addition, on our website, we've got a list of FAQs that will help guide you to the right option. With ISO Professionals, as I mentioned, you might recognise this as a title of a course. It's now evolved into a flexible learning pathway. It still leads to ISAP accreditation for the implementation and assessment of the IS rating scheme. And it's made up of a combination of on-demand resources and instructor-led workshops, touching on both technical skills and business capabilities, using real-world examples. Each of the IS professionals pathways comprises of core and standard courses. The IS professionals pathway to ISAP accreditation for design and as-built can be seen on this slide. So you may start with IS rating skills, the core course, and then opt for either 1.2 or 2.1 accreditation, or you might do both. If you want to go down the operations route, you would do IS rating skills and then the standard IS operations. However, if you're an already accredited ISAP, there's no need to go back and do the core course again. You just build on your skill set with additional standard courses. Again, please sign up to the newsletter, the ISAP newsletter, and you'll receive more information around it. Last week, we kicked off our RISE mentoring program with the mentor-mentee launch. It was great to hear from mentors and mentees, and they discussed why they registered and what they intend to bring to the program. If you don't know about RISE, it's a 9-month program designed to develop current sustainability professionals into next generation of senior leaders and executives. In addition, it will build capability within our member organisations and more widely in the infrastructure sector and beyond. Our programme currently consists of 20 pairs, mentors and mentees located across New Zealand and Australia. Mentors and mentees come from a range of sectors, including transport, water, government, energy, waste, private and social infrastructure, and across all infrastructure life cycles. Our mentors are in roles such as directors, global leaders, senior managers, principals and executives, and have between 9 to 20 plus years experience in leading people. Our mentees are in roles such as sustainability manager or leader, environmental or stakeholder, community advisor, and have goals to develop their careers, strengthen leadership capability, and build their network. There is a link to the RISE platform that you can follow to read more information if you're interested, and download the handbook. We will be running this again next year, so there's plenty of opportunity for you to still get involved. In terms of what's on, as previously mentioned, in April we kicked off our RISE mentoring program. This month we're running 2 public IS rating skills in May, on the 3rd and 5th, and the 17th and 19th. Following completion of the IS rating skills, or for already accredited ISAPs, we're also running IS version 1.2 accreditation and IS version 2.1 accreditation. And finally, we've got a new course, IS for Operations, which leads to IS for Operations accreditation. For a limited time, we're offering an end of financial year discount, which can be used by anyone for any public-facing course. All you've got to do is use the code end of financial year, EOFY22, at the checkout, and you'll receive $100 off your registration. If we look into June, we'll be running a public sustainable procurement course and a new course titled Leading Culture Change. This course will support individuals and organisations in preparing for, navigating and leading through the paradigm shift we're feeling as sustainability continues to centre itself as both a social and business priority. I encourage you to read more about our on-demand offerings, IS Foundations, which introduces sustainability principles and is very useful for upskilling the broader team. And also read more about our in-house offerings, which are delivered privately to create a confidential environment and allow for the content to be completely tailored to your organisation or project. For any group registrations or in-house training, you can contact us and save up to 15% on a training package. Feel free to email myself or the training team if you want to discuss any of this in more detail, and you can go to our website to read the descriptions of our training in more detail as well. I'll now hand over to Adrian Miller, General Manager of New Zealand.
Thank you, Hayley. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Adrian Miller tōku ingoa. I'd like to just run through some of the updates for New Zealand, and I'm going to actually start with the update we did for Q1, because we did have a little bit of an issue, I think, reported to us around people not having received the invite to the earlier event, which I'm hoping now is resolved, and given the number of registrants for today, we're pretty sure is resolved. But so just running through a little bit of the stuff that we did in the last quarter of last year, in case some of you joining from Aotearoa New Zealand hadn't had that update. We joined the Construction Sector Accord Network. We participated in the Māori Language Week and registered our event, and also created an internal channel for our team where we can share material that helps raise our capability and knowledge around Te Ao Māori. And so if anybody's got anything they'd like to contribute to us to place in that channel, please feel free to get in touch with me. We also delivered our first Levers for Change event, which was on sustainable finance and mandatory climate reporting, and an event we delivered during Auckland Climate Festival on Aspirations to Action, which was a workshop where we showcased 10 of our members acting as ambassadors for the scheme and workshopping the scheme's living standards framework alignments. A number of our members were nominees and finalists, and indeed winners in the Diversity Works Award, and a number of our rated projects were also acknowledged. We featured a number of articles, including Materiality publication on perspectives on New Zealand infrastructure sector. And as a sustainability specialist, and this is something we aspire to be as a bit of an expert in the market, we participated in a panel discussion around market survey results on a survey conducted by CCNZ. We also participated, and there are a number of reform processes underway in New Zealand, and we participated in a number of those processes, contributing submissions or comments or feedback. And there's a lot of activity in that space in New Zealand. So if we could switch to the next slide, please, Tara. So Jane has already welcomed new members, Gala and TMX. I'd also like to just extend my congratulations to Liz Root, who is the co-chair of our New Zealand Regional Network Forum, on her recent outstanding individual contribution to the Sector Award. We've got a range of rating prospects being explored, and I have got a slide a little bit later on our pipeline for those that are interested here. A number of those are commercial in confidence until such time as we land them, but there is a lot on the list. We were pleased to be listed as a success partner in MBIE's Broader Outcomes Guidance document, alongside a number of other significant sustainability providers, and contributed a video to the sadly cancelled Future Fit conference portal. We've had a number of ongoing engagements with partner organisations, and recent executive appointees have been engaging with the investor confidence rating review process being undertaken by New Zealand's Treasury, and have an application underway to the Westpac Innovation Fund on the material calculator and digitising that specific deliverables around New Zealand. And we've had presence at a number of Auckland Light Rail press conferences and webinars. There's a lot happening on that project at the moment. And of course, representation and advocacy at a range of other industry webinars and awards, which I won't go through, and operating as a New Zealand lens for a number of the other activities conducted across the ISC business. If we could have the next slide, please, Tara. I've just put up there a bit of a pipeline. We've got current and ongoing ratings, those that we expect to imminently register for rating, and some of those are in the process of registration. And then we also have some future registrations, and there are varying levels of confidence around those. Some of them are us kite flying, and we're ever hopeful that we'll land them. Others are ones that we've had signals will rate. So interesting pipeline there, and a lot of projects coming through on the New Zealand side. So very pleased to see that. And if I could go to that last slide, Tara, for me, I'd just like to talk through our International Women's Day campaign. We were really pleased with the International Women's Day campaign, which this year was around breaking the bias and reimagining infrastructure. We asked the sector to imagine a world where infrastructure was designed with all in mind, and when deciding what, where and how infrastructure was to be delivered, more inclusive views were sought, and a world where the demographics of those delivering the infrastructure better represent the communities the infrastructure serves. And finally, in a world where infrastructure is thought of, and this is a really important piece, particularly as we look to build capability, not just as an asset, but for its human face, as something that connects people and communities and delivers on their aspirations. And these were all areas that we'd identified where there was a potential for bias to operate. And they also represent the different stages in the life cycle of an infrastructure asset. So there are opportunities for all those in the sector to have a chance to do more to change the lives of the communities the infrastructure serves. There are a number of threads to the campaign. We introduced the campaign with a fantastic video from our Chief Executive, Ainsley Simpson, posing the challenges that I've just outlined. We then ran a series of tiles on our social media channels in which members of the sector told us what they and their organisations were doing, a handprint type approach in their professional lives and sometimes in their personal lives to reimagine infrastructure. And then we partnered with Tonkin and Taylor on International Women's Day itself, where we ran two virtual panel discussions, one in Australia and one in New Zealand, which we subsequently shared on social media, and also launched in conjunction with Tonkin and Taylor a thought leadership paper authored by TNT, where we talked about issues around transport here in New Zealand and the approach to be taken in the Pacific. The idea was to positively impact communities and families, etc., by the infrastructure, and all about breaking bias. So I think that's about it. I've been asked to also have a look at the Q&A, and I think a number of those have been answered as we've progressed. If anybody's got a burning question they'd like to ask, please feel free to add it to the Q&A. In answer to your question, Ali, yes, indeed, of course, we'll be sending out the slides. We can share those with the team. And I think, Hayley, perhaps you might like to answer the question that Emma Daves asked about bulk training package delivery for ISAPs.
Yep, thanks, Adrian. There's always opportunity to do training packages or buy in bulk. So if it's customized, tailored, or in-house in any way, please just contact us. We'll set up a time to discuss your needs and get a plan underway.
Thanks, Hayley. That's great. Now, has anybody else got any questions they want to ask? We've run really well to time. We're actually 10 minutes early, which is really good. So if anybody's got any questions, now's the time to ask them. I'm not seeing any come through. So I think I'd just like to formally thank you all for joining us here today, and we'll be circulating the slides from the pack today for those that are interested, and do feel free to reach out to any of those that spoke today to answer any questions you might have offline. So on that basis, Mā te wā.